Well, welcome back everybody to Poolie Mag TV, the raw, unedited, unscripted NUFC fan channel where everybody's got an opinion and nobody's opinion's wrong. So today, in today's episode, I am going to bring you the Barcelona Newcastle preview, but also discuss previous meetings between Barcelona and Newcastle, and I think you all know which one I'm going to talk about first. But before I get into the spiel, before I get into the nooks and, the crux of the matter, if you just hit like, subscribe if you like what you see, if you enjoy the channel, help it grow. It is growing slowly but surely. I didn't expect 50,000 people, but if it can start creeping up a little bit, that would be great. It helps encourage me to make more. And I know there's a few people who comment and like every video, and much respect to you, thank you for that. And if you want to join in the banter, join in the community, then you're more than welcome. So, getting in to this video, I will be doing a preview of who I think will start and what the team will look like in a bit, but what I want to talk about is Barcelona versus Newcastle and the history of Barcelona versus Newcastle. Now, we played Barcelona 4 times in the Champions League, 1 win, 3 defeats. So I'm not going to discuss just the win that we had. I am going to discuss the defeats. The 2 defeats that I can remember. I can't remember one of them, I will admit, but I can remember the 2 defeats in the 02-03 season. But I will start with, so I'm a 7 or 8 year old lad. I've just really got into football properly. I'm a massive Newcastle fan. I'm watching the matches with my dad. I remember us beating Manchester United 5-0 the season before and really getting into it. I know I'd watched the Premier League the season before that, but I was only like 4 or 5, and I was into it, but I wasn't totally into it. But the 96-97 season, I was proper into it, really into it. So we finished second that season. It wasn't as close as the 95-96 season, but there was still loads of memorable wins, loads of memorable matches. The Manchester United one stands out to me. Obviously, our loss again to Liverpool stands out. The 7-1 or 7-0 against Tottenham stands out. We were a little bit hit and miss. Everybody thought bringing Shearer in would be the saviour that would get us the title. We were that close. All we needed was another striker, but in the end, Kevin Keegan ended up leaving, Kenny Dalglish come, and it just wasn't exactly the same. So, rolling in to the summer window of the 97-98 season, we sell Ferdinand and Ginola to Tottenham, and we're getting John Barnes comes in, and Ian Rush comes in, and Stuart Pearce comes in. You think, what the hell is going on here? Kenny Dalglish must have been sent from Liverpool or Manchester United or somewhere to just destroy us. So I didn't really have much faith going into that season. Even as a 7-8 year old, I realised that it wasn't going to be the season it was the 2 seasons previous without the likes of Ginola and Ferdinand. Now, if we'd have sold Ginola and Ferdinand and we'd have brought in 2 like-for-like replacements, then I would have been as equally buzzing for that season, but we just didn't. I think we brought in Andreas Anderson for that season, I'm sure we did. And like I say, about a 45-year-old John Barnes, Ian Rush, Stuart Pearce. And I'm sat there even as a kid thinking, wow, these are old, Dad. And he was like, yeah, they are old, and they're also his best mates. Kenny Dalglish's, 2 of them were anyway, in Barnes and Rush. And Stuart Pearce, well, if you go over, you might well go for the trifecta of OAPs in that one. So, going into the Champions League, obviously we'd earned the right to get to the Champions League, so you're always buzzing for a Champions League game, whether you're not doing too well in the league or not. And Asprilla, a cult hero, somebody who you couldn't really rely on all the time, but somebody who you could rely on for a little bit of a trick here and there and excite you. He was a lot like a Ben Arthur. He'd turn up once every 5-6 games and put a worldy performance in, but then go missing. Don't think he got it utilised properly, and I think he got scapegoated a little bit when he come in January, and we had to change the way we played and things like that. And I think he got scapegoated a little bit, but at least we weren't playing. At least we weren't playing John Dahl Thomason, I think, who was there at the time, or Andreas Anderson. So going into the Barcelona game, 97, 98. We've got Keith Gillespie, we've got, like I say, Asprilla, we've got Shaka Islop. We've got the similar defence to what we had the previous 2 seasons. But the midfield, obviously, without Ginola, it was without Beardsley, it was without Les Ferdinand. So there's 3 massive characters gone. And Barcelona have got Rivaldo, they've got Kluivert, they've got Figo still there. They were just, they've got Sergi. They were just an absolute world-class team. And you're thinking, right, okay, let's see if we can do damage limitation here. And what transpired was just absolutely amazing. Keith Gillespie, Sergi at the time was the best fullback in the world. He was just, that's what he was regarded as one of the best fullbacks in the world, sorry. And Keith Gillespie, what his day was great anyway, but Keith Gillespie absolutely butchered this guy. Boom! Every time he had the chance, straight down that wing, crossed it in. And you thought, oh, we might have a chance here, because they're not really reacting well to these crosses. They're not used to this style of play. They're more used to, even though it wasn't tick-a-tacker back then, they weren't used to long ball oofing it up, and that wasn't an oof up, but it was like crossing into the box. La Liga wasn't that type of league, was it? And it never has been, really, with crossing long balls. And Keith Gillespie had Sergi on toast. And so Faustino Asprilla, best game he's ever played for Newcastle. I'm 7, 8-year-old, and I'm, come on. And Faustino Asprilla jumps over the goalkeeper, and it's deemed a penalty. Now, you'd want she was injured, by the way. So we haven't got Ferdinand, we haven't got Shearer, we haven't got Beardsley, and we haven't got Ginola from the season before. Alan Shearer's out. I forgot about that there. Alan Shearer's out. So it's left to Faustino Asprilla. Now, I hadn't seen Asprilla take many penalties, if I'm honest, so I wasn't overly confident, but he knocked it in. And then, what comes next is just a barrage and barrage and barrage. They must have realised, the midfield, we can't do now, but Keith Gillespie can. Let's get it to Keith Gillespie. Let's keep passing it to Keith Gillespie. And boom, 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 boom. Another cross in. Rising like a salmon, 2-0. And a third one. And it's an hat-trick hero. And I'm looking around, and even I know that Newcastle United, even at 7, 8-year-old, should not be beating Barcelona 3-0. I know this. And I'm thinking, what the hell is going on here? And this is in the first half. And I'm thinking, wow, this is the best game of football I've ever watched in my life. I've got goosebumps now thinking about it. This was electric. The second half, not so great. Second half, Barcelona pulled it back to 3-2. But we still won. It was in the groups. It wasn't like a knockout stage. It was in the group, so we won. We went back to their place and got beat 1-0 in the return match. But I just thought, wow. Even though we might have, they come on strong in the second half, by the way, that 3-2 win, and they didn't have it. It could have quite easily been 3-all or 4-3 to them. We were rocking a little bit. But at the end of the day, we can always say we beat the mighty Barcelona 3-2. And Faustino Asprilla, if he wasn't a cult hero before then, was a cult hero. Maybe he's a legend in some people's eyes after that absolutely exhilarating performance. And it was it's the match that defined my childhood. That and the 5-0 against Manchester United defined my childhood and defined my love for Newcastle United. Just the electricity in the stadium, just watching it with my dad. All that nostalgia when I think about it just makes me happy. I've had some rough times in my life, but when I look back on them 2 matches as a child, wow, absolutely phenomenal. But the Barcelona one, because we went too far behind Manchester United. Yes, 5-0 was a shock, but we went too far behind Manchester United. But this Newcastle team that we put out that day should not have been 3-0 up against Barcelona, but we were. And Faustino Asprilla and Keith Gillespie, joint man of the match for me. And that is just one of them matches that until I get Alzheimer's, which I hope I never do, I will always remember that match. Always. Now the other 2 less talked about, obviously I've just mentioned the 1-0 defeat that we had, but the other 2 less talked about games are in the 02-03 season. We were fantastic under Bobby Robson. And I was really, really looking forward to the Champions League. We lost our first 3 games in the first. This was, can you remember? This was the one that had 2 group stages, 2 group phases, which is, I don't think had been done before or after. I might be wrong. If I am, please let me know. But yeah, so we had Feyenoord, Dynamo Kiev, and Juventus in the first group, and we lost our first 3 games, and then we won the next 3 games to go through. Craig Bellamy, 89th, 90th minute, he hits it, and it looks like the keeper's going to save it, and it goes off the goalkeeper's stomach, and it goes in, and I'm like, this, get in. And then, so we go through, and that's absolutely amazing. I think we're still the first and only team to lose our first 3 league games and still go through. So now, we're versing Inter Milan, I think Bayer Leverkusen, and definitely Barcelona. So, we go, our first game in that season against Barcelona was at the Nou Camp, and we've got Shoulder Amiobi starting. Again, I think Alan Shearer was injured. He might have started that game with Amiobi. Do you know what? This one doesn't live in the memory as much. We got beat 3-1. But all I can remember is Kluivert was absolutely phenomenal for Barcelona. Absolute different gravy for Barcelona. He was great. And I can remember Shoulder Amiobi being an absolute nuisance in a good way. Being a phenomenal, just trying his heart out. He got the goal. I think Amiobi's our second leading goal scorer of all time in Europe, which is crazy because he could never do it in the Premier League, could he? He did it in the Championship for us, and then he did it in Europe for us, but he could never seem to do it in the Premier League. But wow, he was great that game, but we were just outclassed. Absolutely dominating, outclassed from start to finish, really. And yeah, and like I say, I can just remember Kluivert. Figo from the 3-2 was their standout performer, and Kluivert was by far the standout performer in the 02-03 season, which is why I've got them on the thumbnail. And Amiobi and Asprilla are the 2 that stood out for me, other than Keith Gillespie. But I had to have 2. I had to have one from the 97-98, and I had to have one from the 02-03. So I picked Shoulder Amiobi for the thumbnail. Because I thought he tried. He did try, he got the equaliser, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm getting in, and slowly but surely they turned the screw again. And then we got beat 2-0 at our place and all, in a match that, if I'm honest, I can't remember. So them 2 don't stand out as much, but I do remember Kluivert being just phenomenal, and Amiobi being a good nuisance. But yeah, they're the memories that stick with you. Some of them are 28 years ago, some of them are 20 odd years ago, and you can still remember them matches, you can still remember them performances, and then how it made you feel going into it. I had a lot more confidence going into the Bobby Robson game than I did the Kenny Dalglish game, but we got beat with Bobby Robson, we won with Kenny Dalglish, so it's just mad, isn't it? It's just mad how things work out. And I can't wait to watch Newcastle tomorrow against the mighty Barcelona, who might have Lamar out. So, quick prediction, score prediction, I'm going to go with my heart instead of my head, and I'm going to go 2-1 Newcastle, and I'm going to go Voldemar double, just because I can. I think we'll start with Pope. I think we'll start with practically the same team that started against Wolves, but I think Gordon will start over Barnes, and I think Elanga will start over Jacob Murphy. But other than that, sorry about this. I do have issues with gastroenteritis sometimes and things like that, so I do apologise. It can be a little bit off-putting. It's off-putting for me, so I do apologise. But I think apart from them 2 changes, I don't think they make many changes, if I'm honest. And I do believe we've got a very solid chance of winning this game. Whether we do or not is yet to be seen. But I thought I'd bring you something a little bit different instead of just my score predictions and who I think's going to play. Like I've told you, I think it'll be 2-1 Newcastle. I know, I only think Gordon and Elanga will come in from the team that played Wolves. I think Big Nick will have a really good game. I think Sandro and Bruno and Joe Linton will be really, really up for it. I would keep Trippier on the right against Barcelona. I do worry about Cher and Ben, but they're solid. And I don't think we'll be going out against Barcelona, do you? So maybe if they can sit back a little bit more and they can soak up that pressure, I think we've got a really good chance of nicking a couple of goals with the pace we've got up top. But let's not forget, they've got Lewandowski, who's clocking 40, but still banging in goals every week. He's another Ronaldo and Messi, isn't he, Lewandowski? Maybe he's not like skill-wise or flashy-wise, but he's just goal-scoring-wise, he's up there, isn't he? He's one of the greatest ever. So it's going to be a difficult game no matter what. But I'm just excited to have these games back at Newcastle. Because the mighty Barcelona, it doesn't get much bigger than that. Forget your Liverpools, forget your Manchester Uniteds. For me, Barcelona and Real Madrid are the two biggest clubs in the world. And one of them's coming to St James's Park on Thursday. So up the tune, away the lads, and like I always say, keep it black and white and keep it Pooley Mag TV. Over and out, folks.